Take my hand, oh Abba Father, show me what you say. Guide me from within my spirit, I will let you lead.
What is going on, y'all? So today I'm just going to be working on this Trinity River that I've been working on all night until about 5 in the morning. Um, I'd have to say this is going to be the most entertaining project I've worked on so far. Main reason, it's actually a little piece of home, and on top of that, I'm implementing. Hey, look at that! I'm already wearing the colors. Haven't even started. Um, Main reason is because this is a part of my home, and yeah, thank you. I love the intro too. It turned out very nicely when I ended up finishing it with the people I hired. They did a great job. That would be Joanna Lauer for the music, and then Josh McQuinn or McEwen. I don't know how to pronounce his name. We'll just say Josh. Those two did a phenomenal job as far as the intro video and the music. If y'all ever go live streaming and you want intro music or intro videos, those two are your go-tos. But this is a piece of my home, and I love the rich colors that I've started to discover. I've started using multiple different browns and oranges and yellows, and it's just really, really easy to implement when when you spend a lot of time mixing. And I actually spent a good deal, maybe probably about 3 hours of my time painting this. Was simply put, or simply the last pronunciation. What? Oh yeah, the Josh McEwen. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but in a nutshell, I literally just spent most of my time on the palette trying to figure out how to mix these different colors, and I actually used a reference photo just so I could get the colors down. And then the rest of it, I'm kind of making it up as I go. It's got a similar composition, but not quite the same. And I'm adding all sorts of different things to it. So that is the objective today, and it's going to be a blast to paint this. That's a really nice painting. Thank you. I can't wait until it's done. Then I can. Man, this gold doesn't come off. I've got gold paint on my hands. I don't know if y'all can see it. It's super sparkly. McEwen. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I was planning on asking him, but I never did get the chance. But that is all right. And I'm missing my palette knife. Here we go. So this is strictly a palette knife painting. I have not used a brush yet. Keyword yet. And I don't think I'm going to have to either. If y'all have ever been to Texas, you'd know that this is about what their rivers look like. And on top of that, we've got these flowers that are native to Texas called bluebonnets. Bluebonnets are basically just blue and white flowers. They've got all sorts of blue towards the bases of their stem, or towards the bases of their stems up, and then the tips of them, they have little tiny whites. And that's what I have over here in the corners. So without any further ado, let us begin. And also, I'm going to be adding a bunch of yellows and oranges up in the top. I did have a reference photo for those because the color scheme was a little bit different than I'm used to. Yes. So it might take me a couple few paintings to actually get the color scheme completed and mastered, and then be able to use it again and make it my own. That is my goal, is to make it my own. But one of the fun things about palette knives that I've discovered is they use way too much paint. And if you're trying to keep it thick, you got to press really hard to really spread it. Otherwise, it's just going to be nice and gloppy, which I'm okay with because I like the texture. And the process is a lot slower than brushes too. So if you're not okay with just taking your time on paintings, I don't recommend palette knives for you. Palette knives take you a lot of time if you're trying to get detail, and I'm just using the point of the knife at this point. Or, no pun intended. Just realized what I did there. So all the way up until the top is just going to be a bunch of foliage. Hey, bless you, Sheila. Thanks for coming in. All the way up to the top is going to be a bunch of foliage. Up to this point, it's going to be kind of green and orangish and brown. And then everything up is going to be just yellows and browns, or such is the plan. We'll see what happens. We might even have some fall colors. Can we get a close up? Sure, why not? Oops. I'm trying to keep this thing away from me as much as possible, but here we go. Apologies ahead of time if I'm not doing this whole cinematography properly. If y'all wouldn't mind just going ahead and sharing it out on your page or some other group. I spent a good deal of time on the undercoat. I didn't start adding white until almost like 20 minutes ago. I've been working on this thing probably, I don't know, 8 to 12 hours already. And it's turned out a lot better than I thought it would. Not bad for a first attempt or second attempt, I should say, at using really rich colors. And thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. All right. Like I want to step into, yeah, I actually kind of wanted to do that too, but then I would end up with a big foot full of paint. And that would not be a fun time. Pretty sure you don't want to have odorless paint thinner on your feet. That's a fun time to clean up. Doesn't actually come off very easily. I think you have to use, like, I don't know, dish soap might not even work. I've tried dish soap and it doesn't come off with that. There might be another chemical that really gets rid of odorless paint thinner. So one of the things that I've also been learning as I've been going is using either small amounts of like purple or phthalo blue. Oh, the painting is so good that I feel like I stepped into the environment. That's awesome. I'm hoping to actually put this in a gallery over in Texas with the consent of the owner. He was actually the one who inspired me to start painting Texas scenes again. And he's an artist himself, but he also knows what sells in Texas. And that's mostly bluebonnets and what are they called? Bluebonnets and rolling hills. This doesn't have rolling hills, but it does have a few bluebonnets, just not a whole bunch. All right, so I'm leaving little cracks and openings in this painting. Not necessarily intentionally, but it's good to take advantage of them because then you can add shadows in the breaks by using just purple and blues and just mix it up. It's okay if it gets a little bit muddy because you can always come over the top of it with a different color if it gets muddy. Just put it thicker. So whenever you get too much of that dark color on there, just start scraping it a little bit up and down. It allows shadows to start forming over it, and then you can also go back over it with a couple highlights, and that'll really just cover it up. So right here, it's just getting a wee bit dark for my taste, but I'm just going to rub it in, scrub it in, then go back over it and highlight it. Or you can put the same color that's right here in the foreground right over it. Or middle ground, I should say. But you can use nice browns as like distance highlights. And this is the way you use these nice browns, or the way you get them, is by mixing a mostly red type of brown. So, and then start adding a lot more yellow. So you want it to be rich. Yellow makes colors rich, especially browns. This is one of the things I've been discovering lately. And it's super, super helpful. You just have little tiny, tiny bits of them. You don't have to have massive amounts of highlights because you want those darks to show through. So don't overdo it. I started classes yesterday at School of Ministry. That's awesome. What did y'all learn? And what kind of classes are these? Just are these ministry classes, or what kind of classes are these? And also, one thing I would like to comment about is the use of white. Whenever you're towards the middle ground, you're going to want to start using a little bit more white just to kind of muddy things up and get middle tones, or mid tones is what they call them. Just helps break up the monotony. So I know I didn't tell y'all, but I actually have a bunch of different colors mixed up on my canvas right now. So I'm using all sorts of different greens and browns and yellows that are mixed together. And I'm trying to create a kind of dense foresty type, well, not really foresty type area, but dense amount of trees and stuff. And I'm going to gradually start implementing kind of a transition between this lack of yellow light, because right up here is where the sun really starts striking. So I'm going to hit the backs of these trees first, hit the shadowy areas. I really wish I had a picture of this to go off of a reference, because right now I'm kind of blind eyeing it. This is like the only time I would actually want a reference is if I've never done the colors before, or I've never seen them before. And I'm trying to make it semi-realistic. Awesome. I'm glad y'all like it. I like how it's turned out so far. I still have a lot to add to it. Once I've finished blocking in the rest of the canvas, I'm still going to go back, add a lot more details to this area, and then I've got to finish touching up the trees that have fallen, start making the shadows a little bit more profound, and the lighting a little bit better. So, what would y'all like to see on this one if I were to add anything extras? Well, anything extra on this? I'm not guaranteeing anything because I'm actually trying to prepare this one as a piece for a gallery, but it just gives me ideas for the next painting. But if it's a realistic one, I will actually take it into consideration and maybe actually add it. just add that highlight later. So for those of y'all that don't know, I am working strictly off of memory of what I remember off of the picture that I was using as a reference. And I'm composing the colors based off of that. There we go. One thing that you can do if you want to vary the colors on this is just gradually add white every time you put something on it. Start with your darks first, and then gradually just add white to it. Like I'm just talking strictly about this rock formation. I know it looks like a bunch of grays, but that's what middle tones are good for. And it's okay to leave all these greens that are in the middle as well, because it looks like bushes and stuff just growing from them. So that's why I kind of left those little breaks in there too, is to also give that an extra little bit of flavor. I'm just going to start mixing and mashing the grays with the green just a little bit, muddying it up a little bit to create highlights and to cover the canvas. If you want it to look a little bit further away, just add blue, or just like the tiniest amount of blue, a very mild colored blue, and then white. White is technically a blue, so it works out. As far as painting goes, white is a blue. I know everybody's like, oh, it's white is every single color in the rainbow. It's like you are correct, but as far as painting goes, it's a blue. That's that's how it works. And that's how you treat it whenever you're painting with it, because it makes things cooler, temperature-wise. So I'm going back and forth within this pinkish color that I have here. I'm kind of mishing and mashing it around just so I can cover the canvas and make it look like a mixture, kind of where it blends together between the rocks and the kind of lighter tree color that we're going to go for up at the top. I know it's really hard to see because it's far away. Actually, let me see if I can get y'all a little bit closer. Prepare to get dizzy. How about that ceiling? Here we go. Let's get y'all just a tad closer. So one thing I'd like to eventually do is, once I get 1,000 subscribers, is do a painting giveaway, or maybe a print giveaway. We'll see. My paintings take so long that might not be a good idea for me, but just because it would be at the point once I get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I would start being able to monetize my videos from YouTube. So that'd be cool. So maybe that's something that we could work as a goal. Right now, I'm just sitting at a happy 11 people. What's that? Where's the squeaking fan? I turned it off because y'all made the comment about that yesterday. You're welcome. Y'all didn't like it, so I turned it off. So I'm gonna sweat with y'all. Prophetic sweats with Jared, not prophetic strokes. I'm just kidding. There we go. Let's try to add just a little bit more shadows over here. So I was thinking, oh wait, no. Yeah, I invited a couple friends of mine to come onto the show with me occasionally. Eventually, we'll have Lucas Levine come on once his schedule frees up a little bit, and then I would like to get Mark Redner on. I've already told you all that. He has agreed to eventually do that. I just have to get back with him on a time and a date. Are there any other artists that y'all know of? Because I don't know too many other artists other than Darren and all my art friends that are here in Panama City. Maybe I can get y'all involved with them. I've got a couple good ones that are. One's a graphic designer and he does pet portraits. I do pet portraits myself, but just not often because it's not requested most of the time. Most of the time, people like landscapes. What is this mess here? We're turning you into a rock. Maybe I can have a musician on here. Yeah, I think one of these days I'll get Joanna Lauer with y'all on here with y'all, so y'all can meet the musician behind the intro video. She's awesome, super nice gal, and really talented musician. Like she's got a jaw dropping voice, in my opinion. And on top of that, just a real sweet personality. I think y'all would like her. And then I think, let's see, maybe eventually I can get a buddy of mine named Tim Gagnon on here. He's a Renaissance style artist. I think y'all would appreciate that. He's a real energetic guy. I'm not hung around him too often, but the few times I've interacted with him, he's a fun time. Real smart, really knowledgeable in art. And I was thinking about getting my little brother on here. He's just a cinematography nerd and a gym junkie. That'd be a good old time. Just y'all meeting the family. Here, let's get a shadow right here. Yeah. Make multiple different faces and facets for these little rocks. That's one thing that I'm going to encourage y'all. If y'all are ever painting, or if you're just here watching, that's quite all right too. But if you're ever painting along with me, make multiple facets for these stones. It just makes it look more 3D or realistic, refined. Take your pick of the fancy words, but yes. Here, let's add a small highlight or shadow right there. Ooh, I know one person that I'm going to have to get on here, and that would be my former mentor who I talk about all the time, Virginia Vaughn. Nicest woman in the world, at least one of them. And she's incredibly skilled. She actually does this type of art, impressionistic. It just means you see an indication of the painting or an indication of the figures, and you don't see a whole bunch of details. This is almost abstract, honestly. Love the colors in the painting. Thanks, Kim. This one was actually referencing a photo of the Trinity River over in Texas, where I used to live. Ooh, I did not see that there. Yep, you're becoming a tree now. See the things, some things that you notice later on and while you're painting is they can be your best friends. Even if it's an awkward looking tree, you can turn them into into pretty decent looking ones. So right here we just had a little bystander. I'm just tapping the backs of these guys, just give them highlights. Or shadows, not highlights. And now we're gonna give them some highlights right now. Just gonna little tiny points of yellow. And be sure to kind of blend them in if they're this close. And we're gonna keep this area right up here the point of the most highlights. So I'm gonna kind of muddy them up just a little bit. It's kind of spread them. But if it gets so muddy up that you can't differentiate between that tree and then what's behind it, I highly recommend just going and putting a brighter color that'll stand out a little bit. I know y'all probably can't see too much details, but or too many details, I should say. But we're gonna do what we can to make it pop just a little bit. Sounds like Nori's not exactly a happy camper right now. For those of y'all that don't know Nori, she is the house Shih Tzu. How long have I been working on this one? I started this last night at some point after the broadcast, or actually, I don't even know if I had a broadcast last night, but some point when I got home last night. I think it's got over 12 hours in it already. I've been spending a great deal of time on this one because I want to get this right. Or at least as close to the reference photo color scheme as I can get it. So I've been very precise as opposed to most of my other paintings. Most of my other paintings, I just whip them out really fast and I don't care too much about it. This one, I'm actually giving a little bit more love than I usually do. And by that, just a little bit more careful placement, a little bit more precision on where I'm putting things, and on top of that, giving it more textures. Trying to make it as detailed as possible without getting super like realistic. Hmm. Actually, this is kind of like what Virginia would do. This impressionistic type style that I'm doing up at the top. A lot of her work, yeah, they have a lot of details, but at the same time they don't, because it's just an indication of it, of all the different colors and stuff, and all the different objects and whatever's out there. Okay, let's put a little bit brown right down here. Yeah, I definitely want to get Virginia on here one of these days. One day soon. That'd be a blast and a half. Now, what would be cool too is if I could get Dalhart Winberg on here. I highly, highly, highly doubt that he would accept the offer or the invitation. But if he did, man, that's a world renowned master. He's one of the guys that taught me, as well as Virginia. Virginia probably won't own it, but I consider her a master level painter. She sells her paintings regularly. She does shows all around the world, well, all around the country, anyways. She's involved in multiple galleries. She teaches at schools. She has private workshops. Just an overall impressive portfolio. Well, thank you for your prayers and accepting my friend request. Okay, cool. Sorry, I got people messaging me while I'm on the broadcast. So if I'm being real quiet, just let me know if it's bothering y'all, and I'll keep talking. But otherwise, I'm just kind of focusing on this area, trying to keep it very, very bright and very precise. So now I'm trying to mix up a little bit of a brown to kind of offset all this yellow and purple, so that can go in between these little cracks here. Oh, okay, cool. Cleaning the dog kennels and watching. Awesome. So I'm just trying to offset this red and all these different colors and keep them varied in temperatures and values. Values are just shades. Hmm. As soon as I get to town, I'm going to paint. Or I'm getting paint. Okay. Awesome. Do it. Painting is a lot of fun. All you need is red, blue, and yellow. And white. Some people like to have two different types of blues or three different types of blues and yellows. I say just medium yellow, crimson, and phthalo blue, or medium yellow, crimson, phthalo blue, and ultramarine blue. And you're good to go because then you have multiple different types of blues that can vary the colors. Like right now, I use phthalo blue on the sky, and it actually worked a lot better than when I used ultramarine blue because I wanted to get kind of a more rich coloring of the blues. And it's better, honestly, on ocean type scenes. Yeah, phthalo blue and ocean scenes are a wonderful match because the phthalo blue allows you, like whenever you go for the horizon line, you just use strictly phthalo blue. Oh goodness, do I wet my canvas down first? It depends on what kind of technique I'm trying to use. With palette knives, never, not once. If I'm using strictly palette knives, I just use dry canvas. You don't need the wet on wet technique unless you're trying to paint really fast or you're trying to attain a certain effect that you can't do with just a dry canvas. So no, I don't always. With palette knives and palette knife paintings, never. With brushes, sometimes. And a lot of times I'll show y'all what I'm doing beforehand, or I'll tell y'all beforehand that I've already done it, because there are some effects like, we'll say for instance, mountains. Mountains are somewhat easier to do if you're trying to paint with a lot of speed, not necessarily precision, but speed, because you can get a lot of precision, or a lot more precision, when you're just doing dry canvas. But one thing that's really useful about the wet canvases are, we'll say for instance, if you're trying to do just a really fast river scene and you're not trying to do all these intricate details like I'm doing with a palette knife, you could just take a brush to, or a palette knife, sorry, a brush, and oh, here we go, perfect. You can just grab a gesso brush that's 2 inch and just fill it up with, like, dip it into the oil, or the liquid clear, as it's called. It's pretty much just oil, but you just dip it into the oil and then start spreading it on the areas that you want it to be really fast and really thin. That's the thing about painting with the wet on wet. It's a lot harder to get thick paint on there because it's real slick. So that's one of the drawbacks, is painting if you're trying to paint real thick. That's a lot. That is also a lot. Let's get the flat of this guy. There we go. That looks a lot better. And we can just take this edge, just change edges, and gradually add highlights by scraping them down. Let's give these little tree trunks some small amounts of highlights by using just strictly yellow. Just touching it with the tip, with the edge. Just being very, very precise. We don't want too much to show up like that. I know y'all can't see it, but here in person I can see all the little intricacies. So right here, let's add more of those yellows. More of those really, really, really bright yellows. And then go back under it, hit it with some browns. Give her some shadows. Got like 10 people trying to summon me to their videos. It's like, I'm busy. Come on now. Give me like a 5 second break. So did y'all see the OSI Supernatural intensive yesterday? It was pretty awesome. I was watching it and I was getting a lot out of it, learning a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to have to call it for the night, and I'll be back on Monday for sure. If y'all have any questions for me or anything further, just let me know. If you want to see anything on future episodes, that would be awesome. Just let me know in the comments down below or in my review section. I check it regularly. And I'm going to pray for y'all real quick. I'll give y'all a blessing. God bless y'all with joy, love, peace, patience, and with knowing that you are provided for, taken care of, and deeply loved by God. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all. Have a blessed night. And I'll see you on Monday. Bye.